Welcome back to the Bourbon Note, everybody. I'm Ben. I've got a blind bourbon battle on the bar. This is batch versus barrel. Let's get into it. So tonight, I've got a side-by-side. This is going to be a new series I'm doing, not maybe regularly, but once in a while, called Batch versus Barrel, where I'm going to take the regular batch product from a line of bourbon and pin it against the single barrel version of that same bourbon. So this is episode number 1. I've got the standard Old Forester 100 proof. If you watch this channel regularly, you'll know that Old Forester is quite possibly my favorite line of bourbon. Old Forester 100, budget option, great bourbon. This is probably my favorite budget bourbon that's available to me in Minnesota of all time. Going up against the single barrel Old Forester 100 proof. So these in Minnesota are very, very hard to come by. The blue label barrel proof ones are getting to be more common, but these just simply don't show up in Minnesota a whole lot. So I paid, I think, like 80 bucks for this. And when I bought it, I didn't really know what the normal MSRP was. I think I overpaid for it. I probably did. You can let me know in the comments. So that store owner maybe pulled one over on me. But I have seen one more of these at a different store, and it was like 70. So I don't know what the MSRP is on this. I probably should have looked that up. But also, if you watch this channel regularly, you know I don't do a whole lot of research. So I just want to kind of pin these against each other and see how much of a difference there really is from a single barrel to a batch product. So both 100 proof. Age statement, I'm assuming, is probably pretty similar. They're not age stated on either bottle, so can't really comment on that much. And I'm just gonna raw dog these. I'm not gonna do water in between them since they're gonna be so similar. I wanna see if there's like a stark contrast without the influence of the water. Usually if I'm drinking a couple of different expressions, do some water in between, but not for this one. So let's get into it here. And really what I'm looking for, now obviously a single barrel is gonna vary from even just barrel to barrel. So if I did this against a different single barrel of the same product, could have different results, but you can only do so much. But what I'm just trying to figure out here is, is this worth the price jump? Is it worth the hunt? Because I know people tend to love these. People go nuts over these 100 proof single barrel Old Foresters. So anyway, let's get into it here. Get into the nosing side by side. Both of them are great. I gotta tell you right off the bat, I'm not noticing a difference at all. Oh, by the way, I should also let you know, I don't know which one is which. So it's not like, this one is the 100 proof and this one is the single barrel. I've just got the bottles displayed that way. So I do not know which one of these is which. This is a blind bourbon battle. Yeah, on the nose, I'm not gonna go through a ton of tasting notes because I've, reviewed both of these already. But on the nose, I can't tell these two apart. I would say maybe, if there's anything, the one on the right here has a little bit of maybe it's a little sharper. There's a note in there that's a little sharper than the one on the left. The one on the left is maybe just a tiny bit more kind of rounded out, if that makes any sense. But to be perfectly honest, just on even the first sniff, not really much of a difference at all. After multiple sniffs, barely a difference. And honestly, I think I may be finding that difference just simply because I'm looking for it. So anyway, let's get into the palate. Bourbon number 1, cheers. So good. That's just, Old Forester's just so good. Just so good. Yeah, I think this is probably maybe it's hard to pick a favorite brand, just because it really depends on what mood I'm in. But this is just, Old Forester is just such a solid go-to. Never go wrong. All right, bourbon number 2. there is a slight difference on the palate, I feel. I think, so on the nose, bourbon number 2 felt a little more rounded out. And I think on the palate, bourbon number 1 feels a little more rounded out. Maybe some less of the, not rough edges in a bad way, but it just seems like a little bit more of like a, I don't know, maybe a better mouthfeel kind of. All right, I'm gonna have to taste both of these again a couple of times back and forth. So I'm gonna go ahead, taste them, but I'll cut so you don't have to get bored watching me do this. So be back in just a second. Okay, I guess I have results, but I gotta tell you, this is pretty much too close to call, to be honest. I am not noticing a huge difference. If there's one thing that I'm noticing on number 2 here, there is a note that I'm not finding on the first one, but it's just barely. I mean, I shouldn't say that it's maybe not, it's not really a different flavor note, but maybe it's just turned up a little bit more than it is on number 1. And again, I'm really looking for a difference here, and that's the best I can come up with. These two are very, very close, to the point that, you know, if one of them is 100, the other one's 99.5. I mean, they're really that close. So I can already say, before even revealing the winner here, I don't know, am I gonna continue to buy these? Probably. I don't think I would pay 80 bucks for it again, just because I think they're supposed to be cheaper than that. And after doing this blind, I really just am not noticing enough of a difference to pay, you know, too much more. You know, this one for $7.50 runs about $28 usually in Minnesota, most places. And depending on what the normal MSRP for this one is, maybe at like the $50 price point, it's probably, but again, I mean, I'm not noticing much of a difference at all. So I guess I'm kind of, you know, there's a part of me that maybe would keep buying these just because I'm a bourbon guy, you know, and I like to buy all kinds of different bottles. But, you know, I don't think you have to search this out based on the results here if you're looking simply just based on taste. So let's get into the results. I'm going to give bourbon number 1 here the slight edge as the winner. And again, if it's 100, the other one's 99.5. There is just barely a difference at all. And if you just handed me these two and said take a sip out of both of them, I would very, very easily be convinced that they're the same bourbon. So let's see who the winner is. It is, I can't see. Oh, it's the regular 100 proof. All right, well, that explains maybe the slight difference, or the slight maybe one note being turned up a little bit more on this one. Definitely not in a bad way, but you know, that's kind of how single barrels are. Some of them just kind of, the balance in them isn't going to be the same as the blend because it's not a blended product. So interesting results. I mean, you know, I just, yeah, to reiterate, I don't think you need to hunt this. It's great, and I certainly wouldn't say it's not worth buying, because it is, because it's really good. But when you have this one on the shelf and they're so similar, at least this particular barrel, then I don't know. I guess you could just buy the regular 100. And you know, I've said this before about other blinds. I recently did a wild turkey flight a couple weeks ago, which, by the way, in the comments, give me your suggestions on some other brands that I could do this with. I want to do single barrel products versus batch products that are hopefully of the same proof, because obviously a different proof point is going to really change the flavor profile. I think one of the obvious suggestions would be Wild Turkey 101 versus Kentucky Spirit, but a couple weeks ago I did do that. I did the Wild Turkey versus Kentucky Spirit versus the 70th anniversary Jimmy Russell. So I feel like I've already kind of done that. That's actually what gave me the idea to do this series. So I probably won't be doing that one anytime soon, just because you can go watch that video and see the results. I think that what I'm finding in this one is kind of similar to what I found in that one. Spoiler alert, the budget shelfer came slamming home with the victory. And I don't think it's a comment on that this is overpriced or anything like that. I think it's just a comment on how good this one really is for the price. So I think it's less of a knock on this one and more of a compliment on the 100 proof shelfer. So anyway, you know, I could probably do, these were so similar, I could do this thing 15 times, and it's such a coin toss between the two of them. I probably get, you know, a different result every other time. So, but that just goes to show how similar these two actually are. So anyway, take these results and do with them what you will. Chase this, don't chase it. That's up to you, but Old Forester 100 proof, just cannot say enough good things about it. I just did a review of this not that long ago, claiming it might be the best budget bourbon on the shelf. I do think it is. So I don't know, that's just me. If you watch this show regularly enough, you'll know, gotta do the blend. Anytime there's more than one bourbon on this bar, we gotta blend them and see what happens. Not expecting this blend to be a whole lot different than either one of these were, because they were nearly identical, but let's get into it. Consider this bonus content. On the nose, it smells like a 100 proof Old Forester product. Let's get into the palate. On the palate, it tastes like a 100 proof Old Forester product. So there it is. Anyway, folks, thank you for watching. This has been Batch versus Barrel. Look for some more episodes of this coming out in the future. And again, please put your comments with suggestions on different brands that I can do this with. I was thinking maybe like Evan Williams single barrel versus regular Evan Williams, because they're the same proof point. And yeah, just let me know your thoughts, what you think I should do next. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. And thank you for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers.